her out, and now she's not in here.
Oh no.
Anna, text Kelly.
Anna.
She popped in right away. Victoria. Nice.
Anna.
Hello. Popped in right away.
Remind me.
All right, we're live.
Nice. Everybody mute, please. Anna. Thank you. Nice.
All right.
Everybody mute, please.
All right.
We're ready to go. Yeah.
Oh, brother. Welcome to the show. That wasn't a knock at the podcast or you guys. I was just saying, oh brother. I have an oh brother moment happening right now, but
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to share?
No, not this time, but hold on. You want captions for this? Somebody requested captions for this moment.
Okay, then let
That's
them
fine.
have
We can do that.
captions.
We can do captions.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, welcome. Happy Friday, everybody. We're
Welcome,
back.
everyone. Yeah, we're back.
We're back on the attack. Well, we took some time. There was some internal stuff we've been dealing with, and also we just kind of needed a break for a little bit just to kind of recalibrate. So, but I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be doing this on a Friday with my partners and I love it. So and this is part of it, right? It's part of the deal that they don't tell you that you're getting into right away. You get, stuff comes up and you got to deal with it and you got to do the best you can. And sometimes that means putting other things on the back burner while you deal with it. One of my biggest, I don't know how it is for you, Pansy. One of my biggest things is, I tend to have this sort of pessimistic attitude, if you will, sometimes about things. I don't know.
Yeah.
And but truly, like, when my other business partner was talking about this, and it makes a whole lot of sense. Really, it's mentality. It's your mindset. When a problem comes up, when shit hits the fan, so to speak, you can say to yourself, like, and assume the worst. You can say, okay, this is, make a whole bunch of assumptions like, oh, this is going to happen. This now the next thing that's going to happen is this, without any evidence. You're just kind of assuming a bunch of other bad stuff is going to happen. Or you can say to yourself, like, you know what, this is no big deal, and I've got this. I'll
Yeah.
figure it out. Like, it's no
Yeah.
big deal, and I'll figure it out. It's all how you frame it. And so, going through some of these struggles, it's really easy to get into that mindset where you start sort of projecting out all the other horrible things potentially that could happen, and your brain goes down that friggin' rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But the truth is, it's really not a big deal, and we're gonna
A
figure
lot of stuff. Yeah.
a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That's not to minimize things that are happening to people that are a big deal potentially.
Yeah. No.
But I would argue even in those situations, it's really just your mindset that carries you through it, right?
I have to agree. I think we make it bigger than what it is,
Mhm.
and depending on what it is. I mean, there are some pretty, you know, big and, chaotic things going on in people's lives. But I found in my own life, the calmer I stayed and the more optimistic I stayed, the easier it was to get through it.
Yeah.
I didn't automatically say it's over, that's the end, blah, 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 whatever, da, 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 however it was,
Mhm.
me, I've always had the mindset was like, no didn't mean no, it meant next option, right? Like, okay, you said no on this particular thing, or this didn't happen this way, but I still see something able to move forward here. So it's just we have to pivot with the way we're doing it instead.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I mean,
you
that's kind
know,
of the long way of saying exactly what I was thinking, but
yeah,
essentially,
no, but yeah,
yeah.
I know. I have to think it the way it comes to my head.
No, I love it. I love it. Actually, it's just a
You
different
know,
way of saying the same. Essentially, that's
yeah,
exactly what I was trying to get at. But I mean, it's all framing, it's all your mindset. Like for example, do you think like, I don't know, do you think when something goes wrong, like let's talk professional basketball. You think like back in the day, Jordan and the Bulls, like their championship team, like if they hit a snag, if they had a massive problem that they hit as a team, do you think that they all shrugged and lowered their heads and said, "Oh crap, we've got a big problem. It's going to be horrible to deal with. Now we got to deal with all this." It's, maybe some people did. Maybe some people had that mentality, but I can tell you, when you're surrounded by a group of people with the right mentality, that's what makes all the difference. It's you hit a problem, you have a problem as a team, you have a problem even just individually. Like you can either lower your head and put your tail between your legs and decide that it's going to be horrible, or you can decide to take the a different approach. And it's all about how you decide to manage those emotions. Like that's what we talk about. You don't want to be making decisions, like especially important decisions, while you're in the heat of the moment, because you can't speak logic to emotion, right? James was talking about this. Anyway, I bring all this up because we were going through some of that, and part of it was, figuring out the best times to kind of take a step back, let the emotion kind of cool off, and then come back together as a team and work out the problems, right? Figure out the solution to the problems rather than, making these tough decisions in the heat of the moment. Sometimes you have no choice though. Sometimes you've got to make a decision right now in the heat of your emotion. And that's where even just repeating to yourself, it's not a big deal and I'm going to figure it out, right? Just repeating that simple phrase to yourself. And I give all that credit to my partner. Um, and it's just like, it makes a huge difference. And even just like waking up with gratitude, vitamin G is what I like to call it, gratitude. It changes your whole mindset. It changes the whole way you focus on the day. Like your reticular activating system, without going into too much detail. What's your reticular activating system? It's literally your brain's way of filtering out all the noise and letting you focus on what you need to focus on, or what it believes you need to focus on, right? Like when you get a brand new truck, all of a sudden everybody around you has that brand new truck. That's your reticular activating system looking for something that you're thinking about, essentially, and confirming to you your own beliefs, right? And so if you wake up with gratitude, or if you speak gratitude to yourself, you speak something positive to yourself, it sounds kind of hokey. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm going through the worst situation ever. Speaking some gratitude to myself is not going to change that. Well, it might not change the situation right this second, but it's going to definitely change the outcome. It's going to definitely change how you get through it, and the struggle of getting, how bad that struggle is getting through it, right? And I got to remind myself a lot about that. But anyway, I wanted to bring that up because we were dealing with that as a team, and
Yeah.
it made a huge difference to have, also to have like someone come in, and be kind of unbiased, right? And sort of neutral, to kind of listen and see from a 10,000-foot view what was going on, and give feedback. That's also a huge plus to have
Yeah.
something like that, right? So if
Yeah,
you
to be able to have someone like that in your business, because we're probably not the only ones who've ever come to, where we can't agree necessarily, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
we do need that outside person to say, well, you know, if you guys want to do this, this is what's worked in the past here, put this in place, kind of thing.
hmm
Um, and helped us go over our own roles, right? And we're like what we're supposed to be doing.
hmm
As startups, we don't always know, like, right away what to pass off, right?
hmm hmm
When we bring people on and things, or when we bring on even a partnership, right? Like if we've been a solopreneur basically, and then now you're talking partnerships, that's a different dynamic.
That
And if you, hey, what's up, James? Speaking of the devil. um, but anyways, yeah, the partnerships, right? Like, you don't even realize everything that goes into it
Mhm.
as you add, right?
Mhm.
And then now you're adding on people, right?
Mhm. And
Teams.
more complexity, more
Yes, and more
complexity,
complexity.
more
And
egos.
yes, yeah, all of it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
to have what was the word you used? Because my brain is unbiased or
Unbiased, yeah, yeah,
uh, you know,
yeah. Outside view, looking in to help you kind of
the
see stuff
word
that you're
I'm thinking of, I can't like um yeah, it's not coming
neutral,
up.
neutral.
Neutral, that's the
Yeah.
word.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
neutral. Someone
yeah.
who's
It,
neutral.
it it really is like kind of it's you wouldn't think it would have as much of an effect as it does, but it really does because they're going to see things that, and this is true. This is one of the good thing about partnerships and about, working with other people is that they're going to see and understand and pick things out that your brain just isn't, right? And to have multiple different perspectives on one situation is going to get you uh, that much closer to really solving the problem in the right way, right? So anyway, I wanted to bring that, but let's talk about real estate. Let's talk about the first deal. I wanted to bring this up. I chose this topic because there's been a lot of I don't know how many of you guys are in some of these mentorships. I'm not going to be naming names, but I think everybody here probably knows the name of the mentorship I'm thinking of. But if you guys are in any of the, and it really doesn't even matter, it doesn't matter what the specific mentorship is. If you guys have been in any of these mentorships, you know that, especially right now, they're like, if you guys understood some of the crap that's coming down the pipe right now, you'd probably be a little shocked. Maybe not. Maybe you'd just be like, yeah, that's not surprising. But there's a lot of messaging going out there that's kind of like there's experience and maybe some negative feelings, but it's kind of like, how should I explain this? It's like experience and warnings to people, but it's kind of wrapped up in a grudge, if that makes sense. So people, do
Yeah.
you know
I've
what I'm
been seeing
saying?
a lot of that stuff.
There's a lot of that. Well, and because
Sorry,
look,
you lost me for a second, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So look, I there's some validity to that. It first of all, it feels good to kind of vent, right? And but when you get into these mentorships, what are you buying when you buy into a mentorship? Like, what are you really buying when you buy into a mentorship? Does anybody have a guess? If anybody knows that there's literally two things that you buy when you buy into a mentorship. If anybody can put them in the chat if you know what they are, or if you think you know what they are. And there's no wrong answer here, but there's really two things you buy when you buy into a mentorship. James says depends. Yeah, that's probably the best answer. But you're
That's
really
my
buying
favorite one.
most times.
Depends.
Is anybody else got any guesses? Content support. Okay, content support. That's resources. That's definitely part of it. Yeah, that's definitely part of it. I'm thinking of two very
I'm
specific
thinking
things.
relationships
Relationships. That's probably,
and
yeah,
education,
right. You
I
actually
think
nailed it. You
yeah,
actually nailed it.
that's where I was giving
Yeah.
other people a chance. But
Yeah.
essentially I think that's what people are think that they're gonna be doing is
Yeah.
working closely with these people who have already done it, right?
Mhm.
And so they're building those relationships and buying in to be able to work closely with them.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
whether that happens or not, I don't, depends, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
So,
So essentially, the two specific terms I was thinking of was you're buying. Relations is probably a better way to say it, but essentially community and education. Those are usually the two things. But really, what you're trying to build is relationships, and you're paying for relationships and the education, access to the people, access to who? The mentor, coaches, people that can hold your hand through the process, so you don't make the same mistakes, you don't make bad choices and all that. But this is the thing that like nobody really tells you is you're still going to make those bad decisions. You're still going to have maybe not all of them, right? So
No,
maybe you
I,
can
yeah.
avoid some really big ones, which might be worth the price of admission, but you're still going to have to make these huge, not huge, but you're still going to have to make those bad choices and learn from those bad choices, regardless as if you had, all the relationships. Because ultimately, you're the only one that can control what you do, what you spend your money on, what you invest your money in. Nobody is going to be able to make that decision but you. You can offload it to let somebody else make that decision for you if you want, but I would say that kind of I would be very, very careful about that. I'll just say it that way. Um, Obviously, if you're going to offload that position or that decision about what you're doing with your money to somebody else to make the decision for you better make sure they're a fiduciary, number one, and number two, you better make sure you trust them, right? And that can be really challenging. But anyways, there's a lot of stuff. People get into these mentorships and they have an expectation, and they get in there and they have some bad experiences and want to kind of they want to point the finger, right? Let's just say. And I know from my experience, everybody I've taught, like everybody has a story. Everybody's gone through something. Everybody that's been in this long enough has lost money. Everybody that's been in this long enough has lost partners, burnt bridges on some level, maybe not always burnt bridges, but you know what I'm getting at. That we all have our own experiences in this. And if you're not looking at it from a high level view and taking ownership of where, like, honestly, it's not anyone else's fault, right? You could have gotten scammed or whatever. Even in those situations, I'm trying to take ownership. Where was my responsibility in this? Did I not do the due diligence I should have done? Did I not do enough vetting of this person before I got into bed with them? Like, what was it that was my responsibility in this? And if you take that perspective into it, you're gonna get stronger and you're gonna get better and you're gonna get just become a better investor, become a better person in general. Because I hear a lot of people complaining and wanting to point the finger. And I'll even tell you this. And I probably brought this up before. There was when I first got into one of these mentorships, there was a group of people that were selling essentially wrap deals. I know I've mentioned this before, but essentially selling wrap deals. And like any situation like this, they're selling a system, they're selling investments, essentially borrowing money from a bunch of people and saying, "Hey, look, we've got these deals over here. We just need to borrow 25 grand from you and we'll make you 25% on your money. You in?" And what a normal like a real investor, what's a real investor going to do when they hear something like that? Are they just going to go, "Here's a check, here you go. Have fun."
Well, yeah, no, someone who understands is gonna say, let's see it. Let's
Yeah.
see the numbers.
Yeah.
What are we looking at? Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just, oh, I trust you. Here you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. I mean, people do that, but people, and it's because we get excited. We see like, oh, there's this potential. They're promising me this. I see money signs, money, dollar sign, and then all of a sudden your logic goes out the window, right? As soon as that emotion runs high, your logic goes out the window. But seasoned investors are going to look at it and say, oh, interesting, 25%, huh? Sounds like a scam. That's what
Yeah.
most, that's what most seasoned investors are going to say. But realistically, they're going to ask to see the numbers. And we're like, okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Let's see the numbers. What's your plan? Right? And they're going to do their research and they're going to vet the people that are presenting the thing. Not just like, I'm going to go look them up on Facebook and all that. They're going to really vet the people. Like, what other deals have you done? Show me some HUDs. Show me some examples of things that you guys have done. They're going to talk to other people that know them and get other people's opinions about these folks. Like, believe me, it's nowadays is especially easy to do that, right? So you better believe that seasoned investors that's what they're going to be looking at. But what happened in this situation is you had supposed people who were leaders running this, show, and the first people that got in made some money, right? Typical pyramid scheme. No, I'm just joking. But the first people that got in made some money and started passing the word around. Hey, these guys have these rap deals. You guys should get in. We made some money. They did a pretty good job for us. Well, they did a good job in the beginning because there were few people and they had enough people to deal with the leads and the deals that were coming in. Their team was big enough to handle what they were doing in the beginning. And then all of a sudden what happens? More and more people hear about it. They start borrowing more and more money. They start finding more and more supposed deals, and it went to shit, quite frankly. They didn't have enough people to manage the inflow. They weren't looking at the numbers. The people that were supposed to be looking and vetting these deals and looking at the numbers weren't. The people that were handing these people their hard-earned money were not doing their own due diligence. And it just ended up in a shit. It was over 100 properties that ended up essentially defaulting. These were wrap deals. I'm not going to get into the mechanics of wraps, but essentially they were creative deals that went to shit because the people who everybody trusted with their money weren't doing their jobs, but also the people that gave the money didn't do their own due diligence, right? They just kind of trusted, hey, these guys are leaders. I got referred to these people from so and so, and I trust it. Here's my money. Somebody else said they did well with them, so here's my money. And people lost a shitload of money. And all the people that who originally sold these deals, the original sellers of these deals, ended up right back in the same problem that they were in the beginning because they had to take the property back, right? If they were lucky. So the point I'm making is, you know, all those people that got into that situation, you can imagine how many of those people do you think were pissed off that they lost money?
All of them?
All of them. All of them.
I mean, hello?
Yeah, all of them. How many of those people do you think took ownership of the fact that they lost money?
Probably zero. If,
Close.
after speaking to a few of them myself, type
Close.
people like that.
Close. Not
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
There was a handful of people that really took ownership and learned from it instead of becoming bitter and pointing the finger and blaming everyone. I understand, like, hey, this was a business. You guys, we signed a contract. You guys were supposed to do your part of this, and you didn't, so you voided our contract, that kind of thing. But when you actually look at the contract, if you were to actually look at the contract, there was really no recourse. Yeah, could they have all gotten together and done some kind of class action lawsuit? Sure. Who makes all the money in a class action lawsuit?
The
Who makes all
attorneys.
the attorneys? Yeah, the attorneys. And by the way, they did, and I will say this, there were some people in the community that stepped up, real leaders that stepped up and really tried to help a lot of these people in these situations that I know of. And they worked their butts off and they really did try and help these people. But at a certain point, and this is what I say, I would rather have no freaking deal at all than a bad deal. I would literally rather have no, I will never do a deal if they're bad deals than take on than take on a bad deal any day of the week.
Robin is fix the fister.
Um, sorry, I had to mute you. You got some
Look what.
background.
No, I have
Look what
my grandson and daughter just got home.
Oh,
So,
okay. Okay. Well, so anyways, I'd rather have a no deal than a bad deal. I think we've all kind of heard that messaging before, but it's true. I'll tell you this straight up, the stress by itself is not worth it. Forget about losing money. I mean, the stress that comes with losing money, but like literally the stress by itself is just not worth it. So anyway, I was reading, and again, I'm not going to really name names, but the person that's been posting some of this stuff, it's a really slippery slope. It feels really good in the moment to post things and complain about maybe getting upsold when you didn't get, the first thing that you bought into the mentorship for, you didn't get that, and then you're getting upsold and you bought into that and you didn't get anything from that. Posting about it and lambasting the people feels good in the moment, but I can promise you the people that are doing this haven't been through a defamation lawsuit yet. So, and they are setting themselves up for it. And ultimately there's no you don't need to go down that road, right? Take ownership for what's going on. And I promise you, I have no regrets. Even though I've lost money, lost time, lost sleep, stress, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change any of it. The lessons that I've learned from those experiences, the lessons I've learned from, meeting and maybe getting involved and trusting some of the wrong people and, losing some of those relationships, I wouldn't change it, even though I don't ever like losing relationships, but the lessons have been invaluable. And that is really, from my perspective, that is the only way to look at it. What's your other alternative? Are you gonna turn around and look, focus on the past, or are you gonna focus on moving forward and learning from the mistakes you made? Because I
Right. You got
promise
to
you,
focus on the forward. And also, I wanted to add, sorry, I could talk now. It was noisy in here for a minute.
Mhm.
About the, you know, how you were saying you don't regret any of it. You
Yeah,
know, I, I mean, yeah, I've had a lot of bumps along the way too.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but each thing taught me something. Um, so I don't know that I would change too much. I mean, if you change things, then you don't know that this would be us sitting right here right now.
100%. And
You
by the
know,
way, yeah, 100%. That's exactly how I feel about it. Like, we wouldn't be at this point if anything had been different, right? And
yeah,
are we all right where we want to be? No, but guess what? We're right where we should be.
yeah.
And
Well, like
so,
I always say, you can't be anywhere you're not supposed to be.
yeah, and it's true. I mean, it's true. So this person that was posting, by the way, a lot of let me frame it this way. A lot of warning messages, which is fine. So they're warning people, right? A lot of talking about undisclosed kickbacks, people raising capital illegally, people ripping other people off with the leader's blessing and all these things. And they might all be factual claims. These all might be factual claims, but guess what? None of us can verify it. Now my dog's gonna bark her head off. None of
Yeah,
us, none of us
so-
can verify this
yeah,
stuff, right?
yeah.
Am I going to go in and start doing deep research on all of these claims that this person is making? No. Most people that are reading this are not going to go in and carefully verify all of the things that these claims that the person is making, right? But people are reading it and people are, should be taking it into consideration, but at the same time, all of these warnings that they're putting out, all of these claims presented as facts, unverifiable claims presented as facts. Some of them are just, if you're in the community, some of these things to be somewhat true, but for the most part, unverifiably true.
Yeah.
And even if they are, some might be exaggerations. It's hard to know, right? One bad experience kind of generalized into a massive conspiracy. That's kind of how it's being framed, and we have no way of fully knowing. This is the really slippery slope you get into when you're talking about, like, for example, creating a Facebook page that talks about all the scammers out there. Well, are there all the don't get me wrong, there's plenty of scammers out there. We all know there's scammers out. Any business like real estate where there's that much money to be made is going to invite scammers. You
Yeah.
should just instinctually know that. That's why anybody you meet, pay very close attention to what they do, not what they say, right? Pay attention to what, their history, and, find out about them before you just jump in uh
Trust but
with both
verify.
feet. Yeah, trust but verify. But
Do
we have
your
no way of knowing and sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, do your own due diligence. Don't go by what I say or what somebody else says about somebody. Like, really, you know, if you're going to be working with that, like getting into a deal that essentially um, comes along with legalities and financial responsibilities, you should be doing some research on the people that you're getting into these deals with. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's just like an assignment, okay, maybe not, whatever. But if you're going to be partnering with people and there's money involved,
Yeah.
do some more research on the people that you're about to jump in to
Yeah.
business with.
Yeah.
Right. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I 100% agree. And by the way, so some of the things being said, like, there's, I'll take little excerpts out of some of the stuff I've heard, but, like for the most part, the community is just filled with people waiting to scam you, but 1% of the people are amazing human beings. This is rhetoric. This is that kind of stuff. Like it sounds kind of cool to say, and you're trying to get this, devastating point across to everybody, right? So you're going to say something like that, but that's probably not accurate. I would say most of the people that are in there are brand new and are looking for guidance. And I'd say more than probably 1% are actually good human beings, right? But you had a bad experience. You individually had a bad experience. So now 1% are amazing, the rest are all scammers, right? So you got to be so careful about this stuff. It really just it hides or sort of masks an undercurrent of basically just a massive grudge, right? That one person has because for whatever
There's a
reason.
lot of stuff going on,
Yeah,
and
it's very complex. It's not black
yeah.
and white. There's a lot of moving parts, which is why like you don't get into the business of just like, JJ talks about this. You don't post a bunch of politics on your Facebook page because you're going to alienate, half of the people that would normally do business with you, right?
Well, everybody has their own opinion and perspective on that, right? And if that's yeah, I mean, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. Yeah, it may affect their business one way or another,
Mm-hmm.
but again, that's their choice. I choose to really try not to get too political with people because I know I don't think a lot like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people. I've always had kind of different views. I don't agree 100% or probably 75% with a lot of these politicians and the crap that's going on, like,
Mm-hmm.
but hey, I'm not going to go. I'm attracting positivity
Mm-hmm.
and
Somebody.
that type of thing. So
Yeah.
many years ago, yes, I would have probably been more vocal and been more like, this is, how I feel, whatever, and just put it out there, all of it, my side of the story, whatever about things, da da da. But when I got serious about my health and entrepreneurship and investing and all of that, and reading some of my old posts and realizing it was just toxic. It was toxic for me. It was toxic for the people reading it. And that's not what I wanted ever to put out there. Like, I wanted to put things out there that always like brought people to a better mood, you know. Um, like we were taught, leave people better than you found them, if
Yeah.
possible, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I always felt my Facebook page could be. Yeah, did I, like I said, years ago, was like, I'm just gonna be me. And if I have to cuss somebody out or this or that or speak up my mind, and I just did it, you know. But like I said, going through the memories and the new mindset and stuff, you realize things, right? And so you change it,
Yeah.
like so. It's
Yeah.
in business too. You realize things and you pivot, right? Or put a new SOP, whatever it is, in place,
Yeah.
right?
No, 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 no. You're right. You're right.
you know? Uh,
So I like what Chris was saying, post values, post your values, post positive stuff.
yes.
And even Anna brought up some stuff too. Like there's things
Yeah.
that happen in the community that people aren't talking about that just kind of don't get talked about, right?
Yeah.
And that maybe people should know. And that's what's I think more than anything, that's what gets people upset is like when these things happen, we're not being transparent about it. But there's a reason. It's not just that like the leaders of these mentorships want to keep everybody in the dark. Maybe in some cases they do, but there's very good
Yeah.
legal reasons.
Legalities. Yeah.
Let
For
me ask
sure.
you a question, and this actually got I got the curtains drawn back on this for myself because I wasn't thinking about this. and this is very true. You ever notice when you get on a Zoom and if any of you are in this mentorship, you get on the Zoom with the leader and they ask you to put your name and email or phone number on, you get into the Zoom and they tell you to put your name and your email and all that stuff up on your Zoom avatar. Do you ever wonder why that is? What do you guys think the reason is for that? That like you get on these Zooms and these big mentorships and like the people that are running the Zooms will tell people put your name and phone number and or email address in your avatar description. And they'll tell you like so everybody can meet you and get to know you, right?
Yeah.
Right. There's also a legal reason for that too. And this is where you don't know what you don't know until you're in that situation. Do you think that maybe the legal team for some of these bigger mentorships, do you think they're being proactive about building defenses and making sure that their clients are protected by maybe telling them to record every interaction with certain people or with
Yeah.
the individuals in the mentorship? So record all of your interactions, right? Get all of their names so it's clear you can see all their names in the Zoom if we have to recall that recording, right? So
Hmm.
there's really good legal reasons why you get asked to do that in a lot
Yeah.
of this, right?
And I can see that too,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's why we have certain things that we need to, continue to put in place or
Hmm.
whatever. It gets more complicated the more money that gets involved and the more people and stuff like that. So yeah, more legalities.
Yep. Yep. Um, so what I would say is, for me, I got into I don't know if I've ever really totally shared this on the podcast before, but I got into real estate a long time ago. I was probably like 19, 18 or 19. And I was working for really it was a friend of mine, but he had created a note brokering business. So we were basically salespeople on a note brokering business. What's a note brokering business? Well, we would find people, investors or owners of real estate notes, promissory notes that were holding on to promissory notes, and we would buy them at pennies on the dollar, and we would then sell them or we would find buyers for them. We'd get them locked up at pennies on the dollar and then we'd find a note buyer to buy those and we'd keep the spread basically, right? Think of it like wholesaling only for real estate paper and not for the actual home, right? So that's what we were doing. And I got super interested in real estate at that point because I was like, holy crap, there's this. And you start to learn, oh, this is what banks are doing and this is how banks work and da da da. And you're like, oh crap, whole new, whole new world, right? Of real estate. So, um, but so I got into that, and I honestly wish I would have like really dove deep on. I kept going in on that level of it, but that's where it got me interested in real estate and got me interested in actually creative. And then my aunt was a real estate agent, and I learned a lot from her. And then I kind of put it all aside, got into cybersecurity, got into tech and all that, and went that route for a little while. But then eventually came back. I found Pace, I found that community, and just got right back. I was like, holy crap, this is great. Got back into it. T- You know, so I've probably been doing real estate for, like, if I really am honest about like going headfirst and really working in real estate, I mean, it's probably only been for the last, realistically, the last few years, right? If I'm being really honest, but I've been in and around real estate for a very long time and seen a lot of the, behind the scenes stuff, early on. And I've lost money, lost a good amount of money, lost money lending, right? Lost money buying. And I've also made some money, but learned lessons in skipping due diligence. That's probably one of the biggest and hardest lessons is skipping my own due diligence and learning a hard lesson from that. That's why I always tell everybody, no matter what you do, no matter who tells you, I don't care who you're partnered with, who's telling you they've got the numbers, they know the numbers, you do your own due diligence. And if you're asking someone about a deal, if you're asking very common, due diligence questions about a deal, and you're getting pushback, or they're making you feel like you're wrong for asking those questions, think very, very carefully about before you do anything else, right? I would just pull back and say, okay, well, then I'm not going to do it, right? Very simple. There should be no pushback or someone acting exasperated or angry for you asking very common due diligence questions. Oh, okay, cool. What's the business plan? Okay, how much is rent? How much are rents? How much are we making on rents? How much is the purchase price? What's the after repair value? What's the plan to get our money out? How long is our money going to be in it? And when do we get our money back? Like, these are all normal questions. So, and I would argue again, if you feel any kind of pushback on that, like, it's time to, I would probably just say run, don't walk, right? At that point. Um, the learning curve, man, I've gone through, real estate is not, it's easy, it's not simple. It's probably the best way I get. Like, the concept is or a better way of saying it, the concept is simple, but it's not easy, right? And even sometimes it's like, if you're not a numbers person, which there's a lot of people that aren't numbers person, find yourself a numbers person that you trust, to help you look at some of these deals until you start to get an idea for yourself. And you can have, like, good Lord, we have AI now. I'm not saying just depend solely on AI. I'm saying you can utilize AI to help you create a calculator for yourself that you can use. But first, just get good at, like, doing the really simple back of the napkin stuff, like back of the napkin numbers. It doesn't have to be crazy, right? Everything
No, I
starts,
think I like that the best
yeah,
because I start there
yeah,
and then like it's like, well, the back of the napkin will tell you a lot whether or not you want to pursue or,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, I could tell you we're not going with that
Yeah, it's
price
just an easy way
or
to
whatever,
disqualify it.
kind
Yeah,
of. I loved learning that in the beginning. I
yeah.
really did.
I did too. I did too.
I
But there's a
am a
lot of
numbers
people.
person. I just can't sit in front of just numbers all day. Like,
Yeah,
but I can definitely run numbers and
you can. You can. Well, you know what I would say is, like, I'm more speaking to the people that aren't good. I'm very interested. My ears perk up when people talk about numbers. I like learning the numbers and getting familiar with the numbers and all that. But there's a lot of people that it's just like they hear numbers and their brain just wants to shut off. It's like my mom with technology. Like, if I talk any technology, anything with my mom, her brain just shuts off, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Just some people are not interested, plain and simple, just not interested. But I'll be fully honest with you, and I agree to this to some extent. If you're going to call yourself a real estate investor, and you don't understand, even from a basic level, how to look at numbers, and I'm talking basic, it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be some whiz, like, underwriting huge multifamily and commercial deals. I'm talking just basic single family numbers. Um, I'm not going to really take you that seriously.
I
Um,
think it just comes down to the vocabulary,
yeah,
right?
maybe,
And then the
maybe.
way the numbers are talked about to certain people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, because honestly, especially when we're talking about like single family, it's really not that complicated, the
No,
numbers,
no.
you know.
Mhm.
But like again, and I think James or somebody was just talking about this, what resonates with one person from one person to another is going to be different, right?
Yeah.
But yes, you should some way, somehow find the person or people that could teach you those numbers,
Yeah.
to understand,
Yeah.
before you get into anything,
Yeah. It's hard.
along with the legality.
I think one of my biggest complaints with some of the mentorship stuff was, like, you get kind of sold on the community and the relationship aspect, and then when you're getting in there and you're really need the help, It feels like nobody wants to have that conversation with you unless you're bringing them a deal. It's like, bring me a deal and then I'll help you. It's like, well, dude, how am I going to bring you a deal until you like help me? Well, go watch the videos. Oh, so now I've got to go siphon through freaking 500 hours worth of videos to find the one video that's going to help me with this one specific problem. That's why I'm
And
reaching
by
out
the
to you.
way,
Yeah,
usually the information, the long
it's
video,
spread
the
out. Yeah.
information could be cut down to probably a half hour to
Oh,
a
not even. Trust me. Yeah. And trust me, if you know the leader I'm talking about, he
video.
also likes to go off on huge, long, hour-long tangents that have nothing to do necessarily with the subject of the video. And so you have to kind of go through and siphon through that. But that's the way it is. The grudge is like, okay, that's what I paid for, is to have a community and be a part of a community and get the help. And look, every human being is different. So that one person you reached out to, maybe they're a jerk and they didn't want to help you unless you brought them a deal. They're also business owners too. These are entrepreneurs that are very busy people. So there is a little bit of, you kind of have to understand that too. It's not all just like we're just trying to, people are trying to be jerks to you. It's just sometimes people are very busy,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
get hit up 5 billion times a day by
yeah,
people with hypothetical questions,
yeah.
right? So there's that side of it too. It's not all. This is why it's like such a slippery slope to get in there and start complaining like that and start framing things as if it's all a big conspiracy scam against, you.
It happens with
Right?
a lot of different type
Yeah,
of places and
it does.
companies and
Yeah.
stuff like
I
that.
mean, welcome to life.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't learned by now, anywhere you go,
Yeah.
there's going to be good and bad actors.
Yeah.
And, you just have to have discernment. I think discernment is the word that comes out of my mouth the most
Hmm.
anytime.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
through all of this,
Yeah.
have discernment.
Yeah. And take your knocks. It's okay. Like, look, that sucks. Yeah, that person didn't want to help you. Keep looking. There are good people out there that will help you, that you can build a relationship that will absolutely help you. James actually posted something that I thought was really poignant. It's like, you should know as a real estate investor, you should know, always encompass the mindset of a buyer, no matter, even if you're not necessarily buying properties yet, or you don't, you haven't bought a property yet, or whatever it is, you should always encompass the mindset of a buyer. And, one of our mentors asks this all the time. It's like, if I were to ask you right now, Pansy, if I ask you, are you a real estate investor? What would you say to me?
Yes.
Yes. There's only two answers, right? It's yes or no.
Yes. It's yes.
It's not like I'm trying to be, I hope to be one day. It's yes, I'm a real estate investor. And that's the answer. And that's, we're getting back into the mindset, talk. That's the true answer. If you're going that route, you are a real estate investor, even if you haven't bought anything yet. And that's literally, if anything, that's to kick over that, or kickstart your brain, to be thinking that way. But James had a point. He says, your buy box well enough to make a decision about a property in like 30 seconds, meaning you should know the zip code or market that you're buying in, how many bed baths you're looking for, the type of home you're looking for. You know,
I don't know if I could do it in 30 seconds, but I'm
yeah,
pretty good at that,
yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
you are. Well, I've seen you do it faster than that. Like, you look at a property like, now I know this there. No, not interested. Right? It should be. Now, I'm not saying it's gonna be like that for every single property
No,
that somebody
but
brings you,
yeah.
but you should have a really good idea. Like, it's easy to say that. Believe me, I know it's easy to say that. But at a certain point, you've looked at enough properties, you know enough about what you're able to look at, or where you're buying. And if you're not buying yourself yet, where are you looking for someone else? Do you know their buy box well enough to go and look at properties and say, nope, that's not going to work, right? Pretty quickly. I,
Yeah.
I would,
Say if you're bird dogging, or whatever you're calling yourself, if you're sending somebody a deal, get the numbers,
mhm,
learn the
mhm.
numbers, because those are important.
Yeah,
Those are really important,
they are.
you
Yeah, they are.
know. And if we're running the numbers and we do buy the deal, you're not going to get as much money from us on that side, because we did all the work. You just threw us an address, right?
Yeah, yeah. I know. I knew this wholesaler guy when I first got started in this. I knew this wholesaler guy that, and all he was doing, like legitimately, and I look back now and I'm like, oh my God, how did he get away with that for so long? But the truth of the matter is he would go lock up on market deals. So think about this. You've got a property that's for sale that's been listed with a real estate agent, let's just say for $150,000, right? It's on the MLS, it's on Zillow showing as listed for
Oh, I did
$150,000,
almost say that.
and there's an agent with them, and this guy would go and get the property under contract for the listed price. So whatever it was listed for on the MLS, he would go pick it up for the listed price, and then he would start blasting it out to all of his buyers for $10,000 more than the listed price. You want to talk about lazy ass wholesaling? That's probably about as lazy as I've ever seen. And this guy was doing this and he was sending deals out like this on a regular basis. You know, the funniest part is though, he actually sold a couple. Like he actually did a few deals. So it's like part of me wants to be like, man, that's some lazy ass crap. But I
But he
can't.
still did it,
He
you
got
know,
a couple of
like
deals. He got a couple of deals, but I will say that that's a very quick way to get basically all of your buyers to stop looking at your deals. That's a very rough business model because you're gonna be constantly having to find whole brand new lists of buyers to market your lazily, contracted deals. But they weren't even deals, most of them anyways. But
he
look.
still found somebody to buy.
It's like I said,
So
a broken clock or a broken clock's right twice a day, right?
yeah, that's correct. Twice a day.
So,
Yeah. I mean,
uh,
they say the price of something is what somebody's willing to pay,
yes,
honestly, right?
yes, yes, yep.
So you can evaluate it all you want,
Mhm.
but
I think
without
that's
the
probably,
buyer,
yeah,
it really is worthless, right?
yeah, yeah.
So
I think that's probably where he got to with it. I think he was just like, you know what? Because he was still pretty new too, you could tell. And I think he probably just got frustrated with it because like I'm spending all this time like and I don't really fully understand how to underwrite for these, but every buyer's got different criteria. I'm just gonna go I'm just gonna go throw a whole bunch of crap against the wall and see what sticks. But whatever, it's to each his own. Here's the lessons I'm gonna say because we're getting close to the end here. Here's the lessons I'm gonna recap this with. Education is not the same thing as execution, right? Knowing
doing.
how isn't actually doing it. I've learned way more from doing and making a bunch of mistakes and feeling like an idiot than I have ever watching a whole bunch of videos and learning on from a whole bunch of videos. I forget what the retention is on videos. I think it's like 10% or something, or 20% maybe if you're lucky. The best way to learn something obviously is to do it, but then also to teach it, right? So if you learn something, get out there and teach some other people how to do it. It's going to help you retain it. Not only are you helping people, but it's going to help you retain it. And then, depth of knowledge really only comes from doing a bunch of reps at anything. I don't care what it is. Even my mom, who's an amazing artist, she always used to say to me, she's like, I hate it when people walk up to me and say, wow, you're so talented. And I'm like, why do you hate that? That doesn't make any sense. Why do you hate that? Well, because it's not talent. Like talent takes you like this far. The rest of it is massive, massive reps, education, just doing it over and over again and making 1,000 mistakes. So it's like she would get
Yeah.
frustrated when people just kind of chalked it all up to talents. Oh, you're so talented. You're just so good at that. You just, whatever. It takes you no effort at all. It's like, no,
People
no.
don't see the stuff behind
Yeah.
everything that goes into it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, yeah, can people have natural talent on some things that they don't have to put a whole lot into it? But
Yeah.
being an artist and dancers, plenty of things, there's a lot behind that.
Yeah.
And being an entrepreneur, you're not going to see or hear all of the stuff.
Yeah.
You're just not,
No. Well,
you
and
know.
you're not going to see it for various reasons. Like anybody marketing a mentorship or a course or something, of course they're not going to market to you all the horrible like difficult lessons that they had to learn. They're going to sell you the marketing. They're going to sell you the closing check at the end of the doing the big deal. That's what they're going to show you.
Hold on.
They're not going to show you the like
Uh,
4+ years of, you want me to mute you?
no, I'm changing my a background so that because this can you read it?
Oh. What does that say? Hard work. Okay, let me see if I
This
can.
is basically what you don't see, right?
Yeah. Hard work,
And this
persistence. Yeah.
is
Late
everything
nights.
people see up here,
Yo, I like that. I like that. That's dope.
you
Yeah.
know.
It's the
Yeah.
That's a good picture. I like that. I gotta take a screen. Actually, let me take a screenshot of that. Let's see if it's gonna let me take a screenshot of
I
that.
think I have a smaller one I can bring to you, Justin.
Yeah, it's not gonna let me do it while I'm recording the video.
I'll get it for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. Send me a screenshot of that. Or send me a picture of that. That's freaking dope. Yeah, but that's the truth, is you see only the rows. They show you the shiny object at the end of the signed contract and the big check and all that. So don't buy into the marketing. Like, the marketing is just there to get you roped in. Do your own due diligence, but education is not the same thing as knowing and doing. Depth only comes from reps, doing a lot of reps and making mistakes. And by the way, the first deal is always, for the most part, the majority of people, is going to be slower, smaller, and less glamorous than the highlight reels. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. It's going to be, you're not going to see um and you could get lucky. Everybody could get lucky. Like, my first deal took me all over a year to get. It was shared with three other people. It took us almost 3 months to close. But it was a good check for all of us. But I kind of, at that moment, like, I should have gone. There's a lot of things I should have done. I'm not going to say it like that. It happened the way it happened, but it was good. It gave me the proof of concept. It got me into my first property, and I kind of rested on my laurels at that moment, which I should have done the opposite. I should have gone heavier. I should have put in more work, but there's a lot of reasons. So everybody's got a different journey, right? And you know, I learned from that. I learned a shit ton from that, which I'm grateful for. Um, but the money traps, like, due diligence is the business. If you skip the due diligence, you're gonna pay one way or the other. If you're getting into due diligence, so due diligence is literally the business. Um, Raising other people's money. Here's one thing that I'm really grateful for. Do I have debt on my business? I have some debt on my business, but it's not other people's money. I don't owe money to anybody. Like, no private money was lent to me from somebody's 401k that they worked freaking 20 years, 30 years to build up. It's nothing like that. I owe the bank. That's a very different story. And it's not, you know, it's not that big of a deal, right? So raising other people's money without before you're competent in what you're doing, or you're not working with competent people,
You mean utilizing?
utilizing, raising, whatever you want to
Yeah.
say, is how, honestly, it's how good people blow up. It's how good, like, and not in a good way.
Yeah.
So the mentorship, as far as the money side of it, the mentorship is just the starting of the spending, not the end of it. And
Yeah.
that's true of any mentorship. When you get
Yes.
into a mentorship, guess what? It's a business. It is a business. You're
Yes.
gonna get in that check that you paid to get into the mentorship. That's the first spend. That's not the end of the spend. If you allow it to be. Do you have to buy into every other thing that they try and upsell you on? Of course not. But people do, because they get sold on the marketing. The person that I know, that the mentorship that I was kind of referring to, that I think we all instinctually know of, they're great at marketing. The leader is an amazing salesperson. He really is. He's one of the best I've seen.
Most of them are.
Most of them
Most
are.
of them are.
He's very good at it, and all of them are good at it. It's how they got to where they are. And that's what business is. A business is sales and marketing. You're solving a problem. You're solving some sort of problem, but if nobody knows about you and how you can solve their problem, guess what? You don't have a business. You have to go out there and market it. You have to sell it, right? So that's business. So you spend that first check, you get into the mentorship, you get sold on the marketing, and then you get upsold. That's just how it works. If you're going to get angry about that, I don't know what to tell you, to be honest. Like, that's kind of on you.
Out at the
If I
end.
have to be honest. Yeah. But that's it. Build good relationships, do your due diligence, and just know that it comes from reps and making a bunch of mistakes and failing a whole bunch of times, right? but they don't. Your
And the
failures,
little wins along the
yeah.
way.
And that's a good point. And the
You
little wins
know.
along, right? And by the way, those failures don't have to be huge failures. I'm not talking about
And
like
they're not even
failure.
failures, right? They're
Yeah,
just something that you learn, like, okay, that didn't work.
yeah,
Have to try something different
yeah.
or whatever, right?
Yeah, they're learning experiences. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
what's the book called? Win or Learn? I forget what
Oh,
it's called. It's something like that. You either
who?
you
Yeah.
win some, you learn some, right? Essentially, right?
Yeah.
There's no such thing
Kind
as
of win
losing.
some, lose some, win
Yeah,
some, learn some. Yeah, I
learn
like
some. Yeah,
that much better.
yeah, yeah. It's something like that, but you get the point. There's no such thing as fail. There's no such thing as lose. You're learning, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that's basically it. And by the way, if anybody has questions or anything, let me know. You feel free to ask. Maybe we should even just do like a freaking, a basic underwriting or something like that on the podcast at some point, or just to go through the super easy, super simple numbers.
We could do something like that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
would like to bring on, a guest to do that with us. That would be pretty cool, actually. I'd like
Like
to, I'm just, we'll have to think of some names together of some folks that we could bring on to kind of do
like
some,
someone who underwrites.
someone
Or
who underwrites. Yes.
I mean, because we know how to underwrite,
Yeah.
but
But
I mean,
I'd
like,
like to bring someone like from like someone at a really high level to teach. That would actually be really fun because I would learn something from that too.
oh yeah, no,
Um,
absolutely. But I mean, yeah, are we trying to do a little mini lesson about single family, multifamily,
yeah.
all at
Yeah. It
once,
doesn't have to
or
be,
are we trying to just keep it
yeah.
simple for one type of?
Yeah, I would honestly say I would keep it super simple, just single family, just really basic single family. There's only a handful of components that you need in order to know if something is really a deal or not, right? And we can go through those, right?
We could probably get Abraham to come on and do some
That'd be fun.
underwriting.
Yeah, that'd be
Wasn't he
fun.
doing the underwriting? Some of the
He
underwriting
was.
Zooms at one time
He
in
was. Yeah.
that other place.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. That'd be fun. And he was actually talking about recently about his kids getting into real estate because people ask him.
Yeah, and I told him we need to have him back on and have his
Yeah, talk his
boys.
kid. Yeah, talk about his
So,
kids coming on. Yeah, that'd be amazing. And look, like it's no
or
secret, right?
Bo. Oh,
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah. I would
Bo.
love to talk to his kid about
Bo,
that,
yeah, yeah.
right? Because and it's not like some secret. He just the kids.
No, he loves it. He
Yeah.
loves doing it, and he would love it. Yeah, I'll
But
have to.
his point, I think his point was like, look, my kids didn't want really have anything to do with it at first. They were just like, whatever, they weren't interested. And he didn't
Right.
force it on them. He just
No,
kept doing his thing and they saw him making money. They're like, oh, crap, you're making money. Interesting.
right? He
I'm interested.
probably one day told him, "Look, son,
Yeah.
I'm not paying for everything anymore."
Yeah. Sorry.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not. But I
Yeah.
mean, I know I would. I say that, like, I mean, yeah, no, nobody wants their children to struggle, but at some point you got to let them struggle some and figure
Yeah.
some stuff out. Otherwise, they're really not going to go after things, right?
Yeah.
That they really want if you
You
just
gotta let
hand
them,
it all
you
to
gotta
them.
let them fall in the mud, man. You gotta let them fail and fall in the mud.
Well, not
Um,
even like try, just go for it,
but
regardless.
sometimes, I mean, yeah, they
Yeah,
got,
sometimes it's, yeah, not that pretty, but really you have to let them get through those parts. And
Mhm.
we don't want our children to fail or make, like, be in a predicament that they can't get themselves out of course, but at the same time sometimes we think that they can't help themselves and they really can.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, listen, folks, we're at the end. I really appreciate everyone who's here. You guys are amazing. And again, if you guys have any questions, we hang out a little bit afterwards. So if you guys want to hang out with
Yeah.
us, you're welcome to. But for those of you who are watching after the fact, thank you for sticking with us. I got like 4 or 5 videos I got to post up. So just please be patient with us. I'm going to get those back, our other recordings up. Most of them should be up as lives, but I'll get the edited versions up for everybody to watch too. But I appreciate everyone here and keep coming back. Tell other people, like, subscribe, do the thing.
Yeah, do the thing.
And
Appreciate y'all.
yeah,
Join the Facebook community, all
yep,
that.
yep. Appreciate all you guys. Thanks again. We will see you next Friday.